Okay, so we'll start with Representative Bowman. Um, he is Democrat from New York, I believe. I might be messing that up, but he's in the House of Representatives. You might famously remember Jamaal Bowman as the guy a few months ago who pulled the fire alarm.
Okay.
They were doing a congressional vote, and he should have gotten in trouble, but he kind of just got a slap on the wrist. Um, but he pulled the fire alarm to delay the vote because a bunch of Democrat representatives were running late. Um, and he pulled the fire alarm, and then they had him on camera pulling the fire alarm, and he was like, "Oh, there's an exit door right there. I thought it opened the door." And you're just like, and then when they released the full security tape, he takes down the sign that says exit only, or or whatever for the door, and then pulls the fire alarm. So he knew what he was doing,
Mhm.
but he just got a slap on the wrist for it. But for this picture, you can put the picture back up. He just introduced a bill to the House. Um, and let me make sure I'm getting my information correct on this. Give me just a sec. Um, it's a reparations bill for. My phone is not cooperating right now. Of course, now I can't find it. You ever have stuff like pop up on your page and then you screenshot it and then you can't find it later?
Yep. All the time.
I lost it, so I'll just Google it real quick. I should have written down the information. I have a case on the Mondays. Um,
On Tuesday.
yes.
Yeah. We're playing catch up here, folks. So bear with us here. We're still trying to get our feet underneath us here because with the 1 day off, it kind of set us off kilter. It's a tad. I mean, once again, we'll finish the week off with episode 14 as opposed to 15. So the 5 days a week
Okay.
kind of gone off the kilter. Back to this.
So it's called House of Representatives Bill 414. And it's a 14 trillion T with a T trillion dollar package that wants to give reparations to African Americans for slavery and all the after effects of systematic racism and the restoration of rights to Black people after everything they've been through and so on and so forth. But let me say that again, 14 trillion.
Which we have plenty of, by the way.
Yeah, we can just pull that out of our behinds. Which would equate to about $333,000 to every Black person, paid out over a couple decades. Which is just ridiculous. Like, I get it. Like, we don't have the world's like greatest history. We've had our mess ups. We've taken a few wrong routes over the years. But this is ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be harsh, but you never. I'm just gonna be really blunt here. You never picked my cotton, and I never owned you, and there's nothing. And I don't buy the Black people don't have equal rights nowadays thing, because we have a Black female vice president that has failed her way to the top. And I say this as someone who grew up in California when she was attorney general and everything else, and she was awful at her job. And she has climbed the ladder because she's a Black woman. That is it. It's not on her success whatsoever because she's awful. And it's like, we've had a Black president. Like, you can't tell me that Black people can't do what they want to do. And my husband will be the first to tell you that is the most irritating thing when they just want to keep bringing this stuff up. And I think it was Morgan Freeman that was asked, how do you stop racism, or how do you cure racism? And he was just like, you stop talking about it. Because the more you bring this stuff up, and there's a study that I'm going to talk about on one of my future episodes of Middle Ground, that showed like race relations in this country were actually pretty good. Like people considered relations to be pretty well until 2014. I believe it was 2014, which was the I can't think of the word right now, when Black Lives Matter, the organization, was created.
Mm-hmm.
And you see this like peak, like it kind of hung around like the 60 percentile range for both white and Black Americans, and then it just went whoosh, like deep down. And the latest polls show it in like the 20s. I think 32 for white Americans and 20 something for Black Americans. Like, it's gone down drastically. And I think there's something to be said for the more you talk about it, the more you bring stuff like this up, the more you make it a thing, the more it becomes a thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I never looked at any of my friends as, oh, this is my Black friend, my Indian friend, my Asian friend. Like, they were just my friends. It's not until you make it a thing, like, oh, you're friends with the Black girl, that you realize, oh, I'm friends with the Black girl. Like, it's not until someone brings it up. Mm-hmm. And stuff like this, on top of just completely blowing out our debt even more, because look at how much all those stimulus checks are kicking us in the rear end now with the price of everything. I mean, I was watching a TikTok about a lady that went to Aldi and bought the same stuff. She had found like an old receipt from 2020, like January 2020. And she went to Aldi and bought the same stuff that she had bought on that receipt and paid like $5 more for it, or $6 more. So like, percentage wise, it was a 30% increase in food prices.
I'm just trying to see where they're going to come up with. He wants to come up with $14 trillion. And by the way, what about those who identify as Black? Does that count?
Right.
Because that's the thing.
He said there was 246 years of free labor that the U.S. economy needs to now account for.
We now need to account for it?
Yeah, so we got to pay them back for not getting paid while they were slaves. Even though none of them were slaves. Maybe your ancestors, you want to bring back your great-great-grandma, I'll give her some money. I ain't giving you crap.
I mean, I don't think they want to weaken and burn their relatives, but I mean, I'm just saying, you know, I don't, where does he get the idea of coming up with 14? Why is 14 the number, though? Why not just 30? You know, aim high. I don't understand. And yeah, I know it's agenda driven. It's, you know, clearly he has a dog in the fight, apparently. But, you know, we can't keep paying for yesterday's mistakes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we tore down statues that were part of our historical culture. We've, you know, and we did that all in the way because of racism. We let a flag dictate whether or not it's racist or not because certain groups use that flag. You know, which, you know, that's the very same flag that was on the top of a vehicle in the 1970s TV show, which no one thought much about.
Look at the way the Nazis ruined that's Hindu symbol of peace, man.
Right. So, you know, I mean, hell, I mean, you want to get right down to it. I mean, gang affiliations have ruined the Raiders and the Cowboys because
Raider fans also ruin that.
Yeah, well, that's true too. But, I mean, I'm just saying that you're not wrong about that. But I mean, $14 trillion. I mean, we already in debt already to other countries. So I know we can just print money because that's the thing, but it devalues our dollar a whole hell of a lot. And once again, so let's say you take your situation. You have a Black man married to a white woman. do you get compensation for that because you're married to him, or is
What
that
about, do my kids get like a half check because they're mixed?
yeah? So I mean, how does that work? Um,
Are you gonna go back in everyone's family tree and see if there's like a black person somewhere? Like at some point, we're all eventually kind of mixed with something, a little bit of everything. Like there's no purebloods out there, rarely anymore.
how does a guy get that far up into the political realm where he can make those kind of claims?
Well, he shouldn't even be. I mean, the fact that he's sponsoring this bill in itself is ridiculous. But he shouldn't even be there anymore. Like if had any. And I'm just going to be honest about, like, I'm going to pull a Wiley for a minute. Like, if the other side had done this, like, if Mitch McConnell walked up there and pulled the thing to delay the vote, they would have expelled him, even though McConnell's in the Senate, not the House. But either way, like, they would have expelled him. They would have been like, because that's actually a federal crime because you're prohibiting governmental proceedings because a vote was going on. So you're delaying a governmental proceeding, which is against the law.
This
At
is
the
why.
very least, he should have lost his position, but he just kind of got a slap on the wrist, like, well, don't do it again.
Well, this is why term limits are very important. They affect you as a president, they affect you as a governor, but they don't seem to affect you when you're in Congress. So,
Well, this guy's young though. He just got in. He was just doing
is
it.
he?
Yeah, I mean, put the picture back
Oh,
up. He's young.
yeah. Okay, so he's going to make a name for himself,
Yeah, he's
pretty
young.
much. Okay, yeah,
Probably
okay.
40s, 50s.
Well, he's already been there too long because of saying stupid shit like that. So,
Yeah,
wow.
it's um. Is there anything else important in this? But and people are being honest about it. They're like, HR 414 is a one house bill with no chance of passage, so it's clearly a political statement more than anything else.
Hmm.
But they're trying to spin it as um, holding the federal government accountable for the legacy of slavery and the ongoing effects of systematic racism.
Okay,
Big eye roll.
that makes it all better.
Yeah. Making everything more expensive. Did you guys like the $20 egg cartons? Because it'll be coming back if something like this pass. Like,
I
you
mean,
like
isn't it
paying
bad?
$12 for a loaf of bread? Then this is for you. That money just doesn't come out of thin air. Like people don't understand that. You don't just like print it.
Well, you do, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but it devalues. The more, like, think
Right.
of a limited edition Beanie Baby. Okay, the more of these they make, the less money it's worth. If it's the only one of its kind, it's worth a lot more money.
Well, I mean, to
The dollar
simplify
in
it,
it of itself is the same way.
the way to simplify it was back in the mid '80s, early '90s. Trading cards for sports all got oversaturated. Like there was all these different brands came out, and they were putting out all these different cards. So like a rookie card of say Troy Aikman that could have been worth $60 at the time became $6. So the more you make it, the more you devalue the product itself. And then of course eBay came along and devalued all that crap. So because once again, hey, I get a Michael Jordan rookie card for $100. The card book values for 1,500. Then you get all these fakes that come out and everything else, and it ruined the entire market. They've rebounded since then. I'll give them credit for that. I mean, they definitely rebounded and found a way to make it better again. But to the point where it's too pricey to go after now. It's not even worth it.
Yeah.